and we have returned. We have returned to conquer it all. And we are back, NH fam. Sorry for the delay on the fandom stage reactions. I was just waiting for them to drop the entire series on YouTube because literally when I was going to start finding these episodes, that day itself, the compilation of episode 3 and 4 ended up dropping on YouTube. And I'm just like, you know what? Thank you for looking out for me, I guess. Last time we left off at Sanchan competition stage level 2, where they have to run on treadmills while also screaming out the fan chants for the randomized song of their particular group. Last time we saw was Shawol for Shiny and BRIIZE for RIIZE, where Shawol did really good, BRIIZE did fairly good, they did make some mistakes. So that is how we carry on to this episode, where we start off with MONBBs. And although the other groups, they think that they have a grasp on it, it is in fact the opposite. MONBBs are in fact panicking because they are more fan site MONBBs, as in when you are in a concert, there are typical type of fans and they tend to be the ones who to take videos and pictures more. And especially as a person who does that, you try not to scream in those because you know it's going to be circulated and all, right? Especially like for fan sites and all. So that's what this is their weak point, because they don't really know the fan chants. It's also a physical strength test. We're going to be running on treadmills and doing this. So yeah, they are pretty worried about that. Although they try to practice, they do mess up a lot in the fan chants. Then next is Carrots. As a mild enjoyer 17, I hate the fan chants. And that's what even the fans had ended up mentioning, that technically there are 13 of them. Yes, already it's not like fun, right? And then these decided to be sadistic and make them do it again. As in, you have to say it in reverse. Technically, you are saying the names of 26 people in a fan chant in one shot. So Carrot's biggest problem was not that they didn't know the fan chant, it was more like the intensity of the fan chant with the running of the treadmill that made them lose their points. Next on our list we have Twice, and Twice do honestly fairly well. In the beginning it was a little bumpy because the others were not that well acquainted with the fan chant, but one of them was really good at fan chanting, so she like taught it to the rest of them, and it looked like they had secured their place in the top 3 spots at least. Then EXO also did fairly good, and lastly we have is MOAS, and MOAS did mess up in the beginning a little, but over time they did catch on. But what I wanted to ask is, what is the criteria of choosing these songs? Because for the rest of the groups, right, it was mostly their popular songs that everyone knew. For TXT's, it was number one, obviously it was Crown, their debut song, right? Then they chose More Diary. Is the fan chant difficult? Because I know 17th was chosen, like, yeah, you know what, put all the difficult ones in there. Then was See You There Tomorrow also. Like, I don't know what songs would be classified as popular TXT songs, because I know all of them per se, right? Like Blue Hour, I guess, should have been one, right? But I don't know, or maybe they didn't show it on air. But yeah, one that I really did appreciate them putting was Cat and Dog, because as we know, the iconic barking fan chant was there, so we all enjoyed that, didn't we? All the fandoms are done, and you had to basically like be on the treadmill for 5 minutes, and the elimination criteria was 2 fandoms would be eliminated from these fandoms. So the top 3 were Shawol, EXO, and MOA, and they were followed by Once and BRIIZE. That being, Carrot unfortunately had been eliminated alongside an inevitable MONBBs. So that means they have been eliminated, and we will be moving on to the next round. And the next round is a fan site master contest, as in fan sites are known for what? For pictures, for videos, for media about anything, right? So it was to showcase those skills. Criteria was obviously to shoot, but it was also to select the photos and edit it, and then obviously present it, obviously within a given time frame. That is literally what I do, especially for NamaSTAY Hallyu. This round would have been my jam, but I would have already been out by now. You have to bring your own equipment for this one. So because of that, the teams, I assume, would be going to get the equipment, because I doubt they would have got it with them, right? So in the meantime though, we get a little side quest. So basically, because this is actually an alliance round where 2 teams have to come together to form an alliance and, you know, get the points together and win together. But if you notice, there are only 5 fandoms remaining. So that means there will be a revival round 2. And that is all the fandoms that have been eliminated get a chance to again come back in the competition. However, even in that, they managed to put levels. There will be 2 levels. and out of the first level, 2 fandoms would be selected to go on to the second one, and then out of that, one would be selected to go into the main competition. So the first level of the revival contest was photo card challenge that we saw in the previous teaser and in the main show teaser itself. So the challenge was basically to collect as many photo cards as possible. It was not restricted that you have to find only your group's photo cards. Basically, each photo card had value. There were 3 categories. One, it was your own group or bias's photo card. That was worth 5 points. Then if you find another group's photo card, then you get 2 points. And there was one dud where there was no picture on it. It was just the FandomStage logo, and that was worth 1 point. And you would basically get to know your points with obviously the collective value. And you have to place all these photo cards on your fandom table. So the duration for this was 5 minutes. It was more of a test of strategy and stamina. Obviously stamina in general, but you would end up getting tired if you're going back and forth between the table and then like punching boxes and ripping it open, right? So some fandoms were really smart where they ended up strategizing, being like, okay, you pick the boxes, push them towards our table, I'll open the boxes and I'll keep the photo cards. And like some were just like, let's keep it in our pockets rather than like, doing this back and forth. And by the end, we can just, just keep it on the table and like that. So basically only 2 fandoms could survive per se. So I literally got goosebumps when they announced the fandom names because I genuinely was so surprised for the first and second I was relieved. Who ended up winning? Fangod and Carrot ended up winning this challenge. But yeah, we'll be advancing only to the second level of this revival contest. My Day came in 3rd, MONBABY came in 4th, and V.I.P came in 5th. I felt really bad for MONBABY because they were literally meant for the next challenge in the main contest because as they had mentioned that they are fan side fans, so it was perfect for them. That's how we level up to level 2, and it is between Fangod and Carrot, and it is now a biased turf war competition, as in it's like those card flipping games where basically you're trying to flip as many in your favor. So what's happening is there is a square where all these cards are there with the fandom names on top of it. So fandom names being Fangod and Carrot. Basically, your fandom name needs to dominate these cards, and that's how you win. This is more of a game of stamina and strategy, again like the previous one. Unlike the previous rounds, which were usually like 5 minutes, this is for a whole 10 minutes. And the rules are that only 2 players from each team can be in this square at once, and they can tag in their members at any point of time whenever they're feeling tired or whatever. That is how you have to strategize how to save your stamina. So Fangod did this amazing thing of when they got in, they immediately started throwing the cards towards their team side a little more, so that whenever the new team gets tagged, whenever the new members get tagged, they don't have to run to the other side to flip the cards. They can just do this back and forth, and that's how they dominate. And their strategies in general were good, and their staminas were better in fact than Carrot's, and that is how they ended up winning this round and how they ended up advancing to the main rounds per se. However, the competition is in fact the fan side competition. So I feel like every generation is represented in these 6 fandoms. So it'll be interesting to see because time and speediness is of the essence in these. So I would be good. I would zone in on this channel, that I would zone out about my gender surroundings, and I'd probably be not a fun team member to work in this challenge specifically. But thankfully I would already be out by now, so that's a good thing for all of us now, isn't it? It will be interesting to see how each generation deals with different kind of things, because so I myself primarily work with the iPhone because it's the age of social media. We need to upload things fast. We don't really have time. So for videos, even for mostly videos, we end up using phones. However, for photos, I do prefer the Sony a6000 so much. It is my favorite camera to work with. However, I rent it every time I have to go work for an event. So yeah, every person's preference is different, and some people don't own these. You sometimes take it on rent also. Even phones are taken on rent in Korea. And also editing, I primarily edit, honestly. I am not going to reveal how I edit because I'll be a disgrace to the post-production community. But yeah, it would be interesting to see because every fandom and every generation has their own strength. For example, I'm primarily, I would say, a 4th generation fan, and although I use my phone, do I like it? Absolutely not. I prefer the cameras because their quality is so much better. Also, another thing is the people that they're going to photograph, like, you know, this is a challenge, they have to shoot someone, right? We did get a preview of that also. There is one girl group and one boy group, and the groups are Kira's and I Did, and that will be all from us. Do let us know which fandom you're supporting after the elimination. I asked this because my fandom has in fact been eliminated. I think I'll choose Shawaz. I feel like they've had like the best journey. They're like, I like how level and, you know, grounded they are, and they're quite funny also, quite frankly. And we'll catch you in the next one. Do like, share, and subscribe to the NamaSTay YouTube channel, and we'll see you all next time. Annyeong!